What's going on, y'all? So look, I'm here to talk about why Deontay Wilder has a disdain towards Iron Mike Tyson, right? And where does it come from? Because a lot of people feel like Deontay is just jealous of Mike Tyson, and because after Deontay Wilder had recently lost against Tyson Fury, an old video from like 2 years ago resurfaced of Deontay questioning Mike Tyson's resume and so on and so forth, and saying certain things about Mike Tyson, and people looking like, oh my God, Deontay's just a hater, he's jealous, and who does he think he is, and all this and all of that, right? So Deontay's disdain towards Mike Tyson stems from the fact that Mike Tyson would always, he would always slight Deontay Wilder every time his name came up in conversation. When interviewers would ask him about Deontay Wilder, he would say things like basically allude to Deontay Wilder not being that good. This is at the time when Deontay Wilder is heavyweight champion, after he had secured the belt and had been champion for a couple of years. And they were asking him about, like, hey, this guy Deontay Wilder, he's really solid. He's knocking guys out left and right. And Mike Tyson said anybody can knock anybody out. Like, what Deontay Wilder was doing wasn't shit. Like, anybody can knock anybody out. Even my 12-year-old son can knock somebody out. That's easy to do. Anybody can knock anybody out. That's easy, right? And to a professional fighter, that's disrespectful. When you compare your 12-year-old son to a heavyweight champion, regardless of if you think the era is watered down or not, a professional fighter is going to take that as disrespect. You trying to slight him. Anybody can knock anybody out, and you could have said like, hey, I think he should step up in competition or whatever. That's cool. But for you to compare, saying your 12-year-old son could do what a world champion is doing now, that's very, very disrespectful. Because it's like, come on, Mike, your son can't knock anybody out. That's why your son not boxing now. He's not boxing because he can't do that. That is why he's not in the sport. You know what I mean? So that's when Deontay Wilder started looking at him like, man, damn, like why because before then, Tyson was slighting him. Again, he was saying, like, basically alluding to him not really being all that, and really like, he ain't, like, downplaying him every time they would bring him up, right? And then to come out and say your 12-year-old son could be doing what he doing, like, it ain't nothing, like, he ain't shit, my 12-year-old son can do that, ain't nothing. That seemed like, damn, like Mike got a lot of resentment towards me. You know what I mean? And Deontay Wilder started questioning what the hell did I do to Mike to make him start saying stuff like that. You know what I mean? And again, Mike Tyson is saying this while Evander Holyfield, Mike Tyson's rival during his career, he beat Mike Tyson twice. I don't care what y'all talking about. He was headbutting him and all that, man, all that sound cute. Mike was getting that ass whooped. You know what I mean? Mike was getting that ass whooped. That's what happened. You know what I mean? Mike and Evander Holyfield just had Mike Tyson's number. I'm not one of these fans and I was a fan of Mike Tyson. For real, I'm a fan of Mike Tyson. I think he is absolutely phenomenal. He was a dynamic force in boxing. It's something that was needed in the sport. You know what I mean? His whole era, like his reign, was something that will always live on. He's the youngest heavyweight champion of the world, and he was for a reason. But I don't like when people try to slight Holyfield. Like, oh my God, Holyfield only won because Mike Tyson went to jail. Fam, Holyfield was trying to fight Mike before Mike went to prison. He was trying to fight. They was signed to fight before then. I think Mike had an injury and the fight got called off and all of that. I believe that in any time, Evander Holyfield just would have beat Mike because Evander wasn't scared of Mike at all. He took Mike's best shots and kept coming and threw some bombs of his own. And he wasn't, because a lot of dudes was super, super fearful of Mike. They were super intimidated before they got in the ring. When Mike threw something vicious, they got hit and they folded. They folded like a lawn chair at the family reunion. Evander Holyfield wasn't that type of guy. That man in the purple trunks was a legend. People need to put some respect on Evander Holyfield's name. I don't like when people do that. But nonetheless, man, Evander Holyfield always was supporting Deontay Wilder. He was always speaking in support of him and all of that. And Deontay like, damn, like why Mike always, trying to slight me in any type of way. But when Mike said his 12-year-old son can do that, anybody can knock anybody out. Anybody can do that. Anybody. Deontay was like, well, damn, okay. You know what I mean? And I'm sure, and after that, I remember when, people were like asking Deontay Wilder who was his favorite heavyweights growing up. And he didn't name Mike Tyson. And I think that's just from the fact of, you can say, oh, that's petty or whatever. I think he did grow up looking at Mike Tyson as somebody like, he marveled at Mike. But it's like this, when a person that you grow up like looking up to, when they basically keep trying to downplay you every chance they get, they downplaying you all the time, at some point you're going to say, well, damn, well, fuck it. He don't fuck with me, I don't fuck with him. You know what I mean? And that's just how it is. Like I'm gonna be real with y'all. Like if I was an NBA player and I was playing ball and I was really, really good and I'm in the NBA or whatever, and I looked up to Michael Jordan my whole life, and Michael Jordan always got some negative words to say about me. He never says anything good. You know what I mean? He never says anything good. You think I'm going to keep on revering Mike and I'm going to be kowtowing to him and kiss his ring and I'm going to bow down to Mike after he keeps on saying negative things about me and trying to slight me in every chance he get? Hell no, I'm not going to keep saying positive stuff about that dude. It doesn't matter, because at some point as a man, you got to be like, okay, this dude don't rock with me, I don't fuck with him. It is what it is. You know what I mean? And it's going to be what it's going to be. But you ain't going to keep, and this is the thing, Deontay Wilder wasn't looking for Mike Tyson to kiss his ass or to say he's the best thing since sliced bread. It's just like, bro, but don't be like every time, like slight me all every time. Mike was just slighting him in every way. Every chance he had, he was slighting him. But then when he said his 12-year-old son can do what he doing, that was like, okay, bro, for real, like that's where we going. My 12-year-old son can, your 12-year-old son can do that. No, the hell, your son can't. Your son would get knocked out. Like that's why he's not in boxing now. You know what I mean? And that's why Deontay took it personal. And like for me, I know me, my father didn't raise me to kowtow to anybody. Even you could revere them. They could be like the top of the top, the cream of the crop in the sport. And everybody could worship them and all that. But at the end of the day, you're a man. And if a man is just continuing throwing salt on your name, like you ain't going to keep trying to revere him and praise him every chance you get. He's going to be like, okay, well, he don't fuck with me. I don't fuck with him. It is what it is. We're going to go out two separate ways. I'm not finna keep on kissing. I'm not going to kiss his ring. And I don't care how much accolades he got. Again, if I was in the NBA and I was in LeBron James' shoes or something like that, and Michael Jordan is steady talking down on if Michael Jordan was doing that, if I was LeBron James, if I was that type of player, and Michael Jordan was always being negative towards me or trying to slight me in any type of way, I'm not gonna keep trying to be the bigger person. Fuck all that. Like again, my father didn't raise me to just be kowtowing to a man or kissing a man's ring and bowing down and praising a man that keeps throwing salt on my name. No, if it's F me, it's F you. And Deontay Wilder took that approach after that. You know what I mean? After that, that's when he started throwing slights at Mike Tyson. Because Mike Tyson was bigging up every other heavyweight except him. Heavyweights from way across the pond somewhere. He was always bigging them up, and you know what I mean? And it was like, damn, like what he got against Deontay? Deontay took that personal, like, okay, cool, I'm not finna keep on every time. Even on the Breakfast Club, Deontay talked about it. He said, man, I don't know what Mike's issue is with me. Mike always trying to, slight me in some type of way every single time. You know what I mean? And I'm sure the first couple of times, Deontay Wilder, he didn't say nothing. He let it ride. But the straw that broke the camel's back was when he said his 12-year-old son can do what Deontay Wilder's doing. And regardless of what you feel about his opponents and all this and all of that, the average man can't do that. Right? I know some dudes, average person can't do that. And even Mike Tyson's 12-year-old son could have learned how to box from Mike and all that. He can't do that. Grown man laying Mike Tyson's son little ass out. Laying his ass out. You know what I mean? So all that, that was where the disrespect with Deontay was like, okay, man, this dude really don't rock with me. I'm not finna be giving him all these praises and all that. Because every time, he always trying to slight me in whatever way. Again, he could have just said, hey, he's doing all right, he's doing good, but he's doing solid, but he just got to fight some better opponents. All right, cool. But when he said his 12-year-old son can do that, or anybody can knock anybody out. Anybody can do that. Anybody can knock anybody out. Nah, bro. Not when you fight other professional fighters. Regardless of what era you think it is in, if it's watered down or not. Like, Deontay Wilder is fighting the people that's in front of him, and your son can't get in there and knock on no professional fighters. I don't give a fuck what type of training you gave to him. He's 12, he getting his little ass laid out. So that's disrespectful to compare a champion to a child, regardless if you think he's deserving of being a champion or if he couldn't hold a candle to your era. That doesn't matter. It's at the end of the day, he's a champion, so he felt disrespected, and that's why, you've seen the remarks after that, because Mike Tyson was always trying to downplay him all the time. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, Deontay does not seem like a man who's going to keep kowtowing to somebody and kiss somebody's feet, you know what I mean, after they just keep on, throwing shots at you every now and then, trying to slight you in certain type of ways, you know what I mean? And it's always so puzzling to me because the older generation of fighters always have this disdain towards the younger generation a lot. Like, you know what I mean? You got certain guys that big up younger fighters, but it's always like, Because Mike Tyson didn't even, he was always trying to slight Floyd Mayweather too. He was slighting Floyd in similar fashion. Not like this, but not saying his 12-year-old son could do what Floyd did. He never said his 12-year-old son could do what Floyd did, but he always trying to like kind of slight him in certain ways. You know what I mean? And it's like, Floyd is the greatest fighter I've ever watched with my own two eyes, with his coon ass. But he's like, he a coon, but he's an excellent fighter. You know what I mean? Like, as far as, like, he does everything flawless. The only thing Floyd lost when he got older, he didn't have that pop on his punches that Pretty Boy had when he was the knockout artist, when he was Pretty Boy. But Mike was even trying to slight him in certain ways. So I don't know. The older generation seems to always have this little disdain towards the younger guys or whatever, for whatever reason. But that's why Deontay Wilder started saying stuff that he did about Mike, because Mike was, you know, always trying to throw salt on him, or throw, you know, slight him in certain ways, while Evander Holyfield was always being a real one and just supporting the young brother. Like, man, okay, I'll support him, man. Like, look, yes, he doesn't do everything in the conventional way. It is what it is. But, I mean, he's providing exciting fights. He's knocking guys out. And, you know, I'm going to support him. Like, he's an American fighter, and he's from the South, just like Evander Holyfield was. You know what I mean? American champion, and from the South. He hadn't had an American champion since, what, 07? Before Deontay Wilder, so he's like, I'm gonna stand with him. And yeah, and Deontay noticed the slight that he was always getting. Even one of my other favorite fighters, James Lights Out Tony, was always slighting him, and that's why he was saying stuff about James Tony, because James was always coming out and slighting him and being disrespectful in interviews. Deontay not just no naturally disrespectful dude unless he's just fighting you. He don't just come out and talk shit about folks unless he's fighting you and something. He don't do that. You know what I'm saying? He never just come out, and he was always, he never said nothing bad about Mike before then. It was till Mike kept throwing them slights all the time, and when he made that comment about his 12-year-old son can do what Deontay Wilder do as anybody, like it's just the easiest thing in the world to knock somebody out. You know what I mean? Like, nah, everybody, it ain't that easy, bro. Like, you know what I mean? But, and again, like, Evander Holyfield was on the opposite end of the spectrum. And let me just say this too, because I know y'all gonna make this about Evander Holyfield. Oh my God, he was taking steroids. Bruh, do y'all really think, and like a lot of them fighters back then was taking steroids? Do y'all think Evander was the only one? If y'all say Evander Holyfield was taking steroids, do y'all think he was the only one? Like, it wasn't no that this random blood and urine testing that they doing now in boxing, that Olympic style blood testing wasn't going on. Floyd Mayweather introduced that. It wasn't happening back then. So all them fighters could have been on God who knows what. Seriously. Like, do y'all really think Mike Tyson wasn't on steroids too? Like, a lot of them top dudes was on steroids. Y'all don't think as great as Mike Tyson is, and as much as I revere him in his career, do y'all think Mike Tyson got that thick ass neck like that for nothing? I don't know what the hell. Like, the damn neck look like a pit bull, and I'm like, bro, what the hell? Like a lot of other fighters were on steroids, man. Is what I'm saying. Like, you know, so if you gonna say, oh, it was because of the steroids that Evander beat Mike, no, Evander was throwing them things. And Mike was getting hit. That's what it was. He just had his number. Even when they were in the Olympics before, when they were kids, Mike had his number then. I mean, not Mike had his number. Evander had his number then. Evander Holyfield had Mike Tyson's number. And he would have beat Mike Tyson at any point. It's all a lot of y'all be, oh my God. You know, I'm a big Mike Tyson fan, but I'm not one of the fanatics that say, oh my God, he would have never lost had he not went to jail. Nobody beating him in his prime. Like, I don't know. The way Evander Holyfield was fighting him, Mike Tyson came out. Was that the first fight or the second fight? Where he came out with a barrage, like a mega shot, trying to get Evander out of there. He rocked Evander, but Evander stayed on his feet and said, let's go, let's go. And he said, let's motherfucking go. And he came in there, was giving Mike Tyson them things, and Mike was getting his ass hit. And it wasn't because of no headbutting that Evander Holyfield bit, Mike Tyson bit Evander Holyfield. It's because he was getting beat, and he was getting beat for real. Even though Mike Tyson had some great moments, but Evander kept coming, and he wouldn't die. And he saw that Mike saw he was getting hit with some shots of his own. Evander was landing his shots, and Mike was looking for a way out of that fight when he realized Evander wasn't going to be easy to beat. The way out of that fight was to bite Evander Holyfield there. Mike wanted a way out. He was suffering through a lot of other things going on in his life, but he tried to get a way out of that fight. I don't care what y'all say. But all of this, what I broke down is the reason why Deontay Wilder has this disdain towards Mike Tyson. Because Mike Tyson was being very disrespectful when he was champion, saying his 12-year-old son could do what he do, and throwing slight at his name every chance he could get. Machiavelli Mills TV, thank y'all for rocking with me. I'm out.